Hi, I'm Don Ferguson, the producer of Florida Keys Dive Odyssey, the video series that unveils the actual GPS coordinates of the top dive sites in the Florida Keys. The completion of Henry Flagler's Overseas Railroad in 1912 connected 29 islands of the Florida Keys to the Florida mainland with a series of bridges and fills. The railroad that went to sea took over 10 years to build at the cost of over 50 million turn-of-the-century dollars and over 400 lives lost during its construction. In 1938, a highway was completed using the right-of-way and bridges that were abandoned by the Florida East Coast Railroad after the 1935 Labor Day hurricane. Today, US 1, nicknamed the Overseas Highway, follows nearly the same 126-mile route from Florida City to Key West, providing direct access to the Florida Keys reef system. I'm southbound down the Overseas Highway to Tavernier on the lower tip of Key Largo. The name Tavernier was probably a corruption of the Spanish name Cayo Tavona, or Horsefly Island, given to the small island seaward of Tavernier Harbor in the 1600s. The Tavernier area dive sites are easily accessible from Tavernier Creek Marina near mile marker 91. We'll be diving Pickles Reef, Conch Reef, Little Conch Reef, and Davis Reef. We head seaward to the Tavernier Creek headpin. From here, the first target, Pickles Reef, is about 11 miles due east. Pickles Reef is marked by 3 mooring buoys and 2 spars. The first dive site is the so-called Pickle Barrel wreck in 15 feet of water. There is a mooring buoy nearby. The numerous barrel-shaped objects are actually hardened concrete. This twisted metal was once part of a quadrant, a counterbalance used by a steam engine. Shipwreck historian Dennis Trelowitz believes this wreck is probably that of the SS Thornley, a British merchantman steamship bound from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania to Tampico, Mexico. The SS Thornley sank on November 1st, 1898. However, Dennis told me that from 1829 to 1912, there were 30 documented shipwrecks in the Pickles Reef area. Since nothing to positively identify this wreck, such as a ship's bell or nameplate, has ever been found on this site, naming this wreck the SS Thornley is just an educated guess. By diving all 3 mooring buoys on Pickles, we are rewarded by beautiful coral formations and an abundance of sea life. The large eyes of this long-jaw squirrelfish signify a nocturnal reef hunter, whose eyes must function at low light levels. About a quarter of a mile east of the Pickles Spars is one of the most beautiful and arguably largest stands of pillar coral in the Florida Keys. There are no mooring buoys on this 22-foot deep site, but there is a large sand pocket adjacent to the colony in which to anchor. Unlike most coral, Pillar coral polyps are extended during the daytime, catching microscopic plankton that float by in the current. The extended polyps give the colony a fuzzy appearance. We're jamming about 3.5 miles, 230 degrees west-southwest from Pickles to our next dive area, Conch Reef. The red number 12 Nun buoy marks this vast area. The first site, the Conch Horseshoe, is situated about 1/2 mile north of red number 12 with 2 mooring buoys. Spotted goatfish get their name from the paired barbels dangling from their chin. These barbels are attuned to pick up the vibrations of microscopic invertebrates and tiny fish hiding in the sand. The next destination is the Aquarius National Undersea Research Center, operated jointly by NOAA and the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. The habitat was tethered to a surface support vessel in 1994 when this footage was captured. The surface support vessel has been replaced by a large remote operating buoy that houses compressors for air and radios for communication with the land base. The Aquarius habitat allows oceanographers to live and work 45 feet beneath the sea for extended periods of time. This is called saturation diving, when a diver's bloodstream has absorbed the maximum amount of nitrogen possible. It takes about 24 hours for a diver to become saturated. Once saturated, it doesn't matter how long the diver stays underwater, a couple of days, a couple of weeks, or even a month. His decompression time before surfacing will be a little over 16 hours. Saturation diving allows scientists and oceanographers virtually unlimited bottom times for long projects, such as core drilling to obtain samples of the reef for evaluation of reef conditions centuries ago. The Aquarius underwater habitat is a restricted area. Before diving in the vicinity of the Aquarius, call the University of North Carolina Wilmington Key Largo office for permission. The coral fingers on Conch Reef are well pronounced and lead to the conch wall that descends to 115 feet. Basket and barrel sponges filter the nutrient-rich waters of the Gulf Stream on the conch wall. The next target on Conch, the granite block wreck, is about 1/3 mile, 325 degrees north-northwest from the red number 12 Nun buoy in 16 feet of water. These massive blocks cover the frame of the barge that was transporting them. The granite block wreck was probably of similar design to this barge shown transporting a locomotive used to help construct the Florida East Coast Railway's Key West extension in the early 1900s. The final target on Conch Reef is Captain Tom's Ledge, about 3/4 of a mile, 245 degrees west-southwest from the red number 12 Nun buoy and about 50 feet of water. As I approach this school of yellowtail snapper, they react as if I was a predator. Fish gather together in schools to hunt and for protection against larger fish. By staying together and moving as one, these fish make it difficult for a predator to pick out an individual target. Notice the white grunt moving in unison with the yellowtail. This is an aggregate school of two different species. We're skipping a mile, 230 degrees west-southwest from Captain Tom's Ledge to Little Conch Reef. Our target is a famous shipwreck from the ill-fated 1733 Spanish treasure fleet. Named Nuestra Senora de Balvaneda, which means Our Lady of Balvaneda in Spanish, she was nicknamed El Infante, or the Prince. Built in Genoa, Italy in 1724, she displaced about 326 tons and was a formidable battleship with over 40 cannon. As one of the giants of the 1733 fleet, El Infante carried over 5 million pesos of the king's treasure. Her cargo included cochineal, indigo, vanilla, cocoa leaves, and ceramic plates, jars, and jugs. She was well salvaged by the Spanish in 1734. Nearby El Infante, the reefscape is spectacular. Replete with friendly marine life and beautiful corals, Little Conch Reef is one of the most underrated dive sites in the Upper Keys. There are no mooring buoys here, so be sure to anchor in sand when exploring this shallow, uncrowded coral garden. About 1 mile, 290 degrees west-northwest from El Infante, is the grave site of another 1733 shipwreck, San Jose y las Animas, or St. Joseph and the Souls. Nicknamed San Jose, she was built in the New England colonies in 1728. She carried over 30,000 pesos in silver and bullion, as well as sugar, chocolate, indigo, animal hides, ceramics, and assorted drugs including tobacco and cocoa leaves. Situated in water 30 feet deep and completely covered with 3 to 6 feet of sand, San Jose is an uninteresting dive site. However, following the track of San Jose for about 1 mile, 165 degrees south-southwest from the wreck site, we find one of her cannon in about 35 feet of water. Through the years, a beautiful mound of star coral has grown on top of the cannon, which is about 9 feet long and made of iron. I can imagine this cannon crashing overboard as San Jose pitched and yawed her way shoreward, sinking about a mile away. A 5-foot green moray eel has made its home underneath the cannon. Notice the cleaner goby busy eating parasites off the eel. These two have a symbiotic relationship. The goby gets fed while the eel rids itself of annoying parasites. From the San Jose Cannon, we're barreling about 2 miles, 255 degrees west-southwest to the Davis Reef Light Tower. 400 yards to the southwest of the light tower is the final dive site of the day, the famous Davis Ledge in 25 to 30 feet of water. This area is home to 3 green moray eels. Generally speaking, moray eels won't bite out of meanness. They just can't see very well and may mistake fingers for bait fish. Moray eels are extremely territorial. Their jaws exert tremendous pressure. Divers are advised not to put a hand in any coral crevice where an eel could be hiding. The moray eel's body is protected by a mucus-like coating. They feel to me like a combination of satin and velvet. These eels are totally accustomed to human interaction, but each one of these 3 eels has a different personality. Any type of interaction with marine creatures, including feeding or petting, is potentially dangerous. If you decide to interact with the fish, do so at your own risk. Davis Ledge is an outstanding site for a night dive. This milk conch is inching slowly over the ocean floor. I've turned it over. The green body identifies a milk conch. Watch it right itself. I hope you enjoyed the top dive sites at Tavernier. We're heading back into the Tavernier Creek Marina. After retrieving my boat, I'm heading into the setting sun. The Dive Odyssey continues tomorrow in Isla Morada. I've got just under 90 miles of reef line to go to reach Key West. In the fall of 1994, Francisco Ferreras Rodriguez, nicknamed Pepin, announced at an international press conference in Key Largo his intention to descend to a new world record depth of 416 feet on a single breath of air. Pepin also demonstrated his sled system designed to help him accomplish this feat. The day of the event arrives. We're heading out to Molasses Reef. Our destination is about 7.5 miles seaward of the Molasses Light Tower. We'll be in the Gulf Stream in about 850 feet of water with the huge tankers and cargo ships. When we arrive at the site, the sled with lift bag is carefully lowered into the water. The safety divers enter the water and are marked on the manifest. The safety divers are equally spaced between the surface and 416-foot depths. Now, with the safety divers in place, Pepin enters the water and begins a 5-minute period of hyperventilation to eliminate excess carbon dioxide from his system. This helps him to deter his natural instinct to breathe. Pepin finally inhales the last huge gulp of air that must keep him alive until he resurfaces. Releasing the heavily weighted sled allows him to rocket downward at the amazing rate of 3 to 4 feet per second. Because his ears cannot adjust to the increasing pressure this rapidly, Pepin slows his descent periodically by releasing short bursts of air into his lift bag. One by one, Pepin passes the safety divers and disappears from view. On the surface, the mood is tense. Any number of things could go wrong, resulting in serious injury or death. Suddenly, the inflated lift bag appears from the depths, boiling Pepin to the surface.
Where? Yeah, he is.
It took Pepin 2 minutes and 23 seconds to set a new world record for unlimited freediving. Pepin produces videos that go into far greater detail about the rapidly growing sport of unlimited freediving. Whenever I'm in Key Largo, I always stop by Hyperbarics International to see Dick Rakowski, the father of recreational nitrox diving. Nitrox divers increase the oxygen content in the compressed air they breathe underwater. Divers must be certified by the International Association of Nitrox and Technical Divers to receive a nitrox fill or to rent nitrox tanks. When used in conjunction with the standard decompression tables, nitrox provides a tremendous safety advantage for divers of the nearby Bibb and Dwayne wrecks. This is Don Ferguson, back with a few safety tips for boaters and divers. When approaching a dive site, 150 yards from the mooring buoys or boats, I slow to idle and keep a sharp lookout for snorkelers and divers. The mooring buoy system prevents anchor damage to the reef. Instead of dropping anchor, I tie the bow line of my boat to the mooring buoy island. This eases the strain on the mooring buoy anchor ring, which is embedded in the coral below. On deeper sites, when the bottom isn't visible and there are no mooring buoys, I carry my anchor down and set it away from coral to minimize my impact on the reef. Spars anywhere on the reef denote shallow water and should be avoided. Yellow buoys on the reef denote a restricted area. They are called Special Preservation Area buoys, or SPA buoys for short. Contact the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary to learn the no-take restrictions that apply to divers and fishermen in areas marked with SPA buoys. The ebb and flow of the tides, coupled with the capricious nature of the nearby Gulf Stream, make currents unpredictable on all reef dives. I always toss out a 100 to 200 foot tag line to gauge the current and to have something to grab onto when ending the dive. I display the required dive flag on my tagline float. Sometimes I've started a dive in sunshine and surfaced to find a storm has moved in. All navigators need to be aware of the changing weather patterns of the Florida Keys. Take steps to avoid bad weather cells. All shipwrecks in Florida waters are protected by federal and state laws that prohibit unlicensed salvage. In a nutshell, it's okay to look, just don't touch the wreck. As responsible divers, we must preserve our submerged cultural resources for future generations to enjoy. Coral reefs are extremely delicate ecosystems. Each reef is populated by thousands of stationary corals that extend their polyps to catch microscopic organisms, moving with the nutrient-laden Gulf Stream. When a careless navigator strikes the reef, or an uninformed diver touches a coral colony, the coral polyps are damaged, thus subjecting the entire colony to disease and possible death. Contact the Coast Guard, the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary, and a Florida Keys dive shop to arrange for the proper training before attempting any ocean dives from a rented or personally owned boat. Nighttime navigation requires special skills and a thorough familiarity with the area. Night diving requires special training as well. Contact the Coast Guard and a Florida Keys dive shop for the proper training before venturing out at night. All divers must follow the surface interval guidelines from the standard repetitive dive charts when making multiple dives on the same day, or risk getting the bends. And finally, let me reiterate, fish feeding is dangerous. If you decide to feed the fish, do so at your own risk. I only feed my aquatic buddies fresh-thawed ballyhoo. This is Don Ferguson wishing you smooth seas, good visibility, and safe diving. The fabulous oil paintings featured throughout this video were created by my buddy Bill Trotter. Bill has devoted a lifetime toward the recreation of seafaring history through his artistic endeavors. Bill's masterfully executed works graphically illustrate man's ongoing battle with the elements of sea, wind, wave, and weather. Bill and his lovely wife Frida live at the William Trotter Lighthouse Maritime Studio in Apalachicola, Florida. Meet my good friend Chuck Hayes. Chuck has shown me dozens of dive sites through the years. Chuck directs the Submerged Resource Inventory for the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary's Northeast region.
We're doing an inventory out here. Started out as a submerged cultural resource inventory of all the wrecks and anchors and cannons that are out there. We expanded that to include anything out of the ordinary. Now we probably have, I would say, over 80 old wrecks out there, another 25 or 30 more modern wrecks. We have a number of ballast trails, over 50 old anchor sites. There's cannon sites. This has been going on now for about 3 years. I'd like to emphasize that we do not take or disturb the environment at all out there. We try to really keep good standards of integrity along those lines.
Chuck's technical advice and endless encouragement help make this video a true time capsule of Florida Keys dive sites at the dawn of the new millennium.